The last chapter of the Fellowship of the Ring, the breaking of the Fellowship, is marks a real turn away from what has, to this point in the Lord of the Rings, been a mostly unified point of view. That we have been riding with Frodo. There's a little bit of moving to other points of view. As critics have noticed, Tolkien will always pick a character as the viewpoint character who knows the least. There are some characters in The Lord of the Rings whose point of view we will never enter, either because they know too much and we could plot away or take away some mystery. We're never going to be inside Gandalf's head. Others we will see only from outside, including Boromir. The end of the breaking of the Fellowship really breaks up the band. Our characters are going to be split off and reunited. The Fellowship is only together really for book two of the six books of the so-called trilogy, the big massive novel. Um, but that's a kind of iconic period, and they're breaking up, and now their points of view are going to break up. They were all together on one quest. They're now going to be going to multiple quests and side quests and rescue missions. And Boromir is the key to this. I want to talk a little bit more. Boromir, who only basically exists in book two of the six books of Lord of the Rings, but is an iconic character, and who as I said in another video, is the kind of designated misunderstander, the one who makes the mistakes. I would suggest to you that Boromir, I would argue that Boromir is the character who represents, who embodies a certain approach to adventure fiction, and that Tolkien, the Lord of the Rings, abjures. That they want to go there. If I said Tolkien is very interested, as some of his medieval models are, in the tension between a model of warrior heroship by elite warriors versus a more spiritual, ascetic version of heroism by suffering, by more through moral courage. Frodo is throughout the symbol of difficult moral courage. Boromir is the embodiment of the belief that warrior virtues are enough. He is strong, he is brave, he is hardy, and he doesn't think there's anything else he needs to be. The book thinks he's wrong. Boromir, of course, doesn't believe in the Arryn because Boromir is not a believer in a fundamental sense. I want to talk about two things. One is one of the things that happens in chapter 10 of book 2, the breaking of the fellowship. We actually see Frodo in an intense struggle between outside forces, good and evil, that are coming in trying to change his will, and he gets a moment of freedom where he is the one who chooses, that he frees himself from foreign influence, either the eye or the voice, and decides what to do about the ring. The decision is his, free and clear, that he has fought off external supernatural influences, even the benign one too, the malevolent one and the benign one. He's cast them all off to make his own decision. Boromir, who has tried to take the ring by force, never believed. And I want to go back. I want to go back to Boromir's introduction in the Council of Elrond, chapter 2, and in page 320, on page 323 in this edition, in the middle of the Council of Elrond, shortly before you get, he recites the rhyme that came to him in a dream: "Seek for the sword that was broken, in Imladris it dwells." Le Guin, in her essay From Elfland to Poughkeepsie, kind of has Boromir's number, talks about how good Tolkien is at getting that kind of slight whine into Boromir's voice. Boromir has that slightly unheroic strain in his voice, and not just at that moment that Le Guin is quoting, all the time. I would suggest that one of the reasons Boromir also seems to be aggrieved or feeling underappreciated is he feels that the virtues he has should be getting more credit. He is the best warrior, he's the best fighter, or so he thinks. He's immediately in a kind of rivalry with Aragorn. And but he's never in a rivalry with Faramir, his brother. He's not in a rivalry. He's the one who laughs at Bilbo and has to be stopped when he realizes no one else is laughing at Bilbo. But Bilbo is an elderly retired hero, but he's a substantial retired hero. He has doubts of he doesn't see the point of halflings. Boromir doesn't get the basic way Lord of the Rings works. And I would point out that this begins even when he's introduced. Uh, For on the eve of the sudden assault, Boromir recounts, a dream came to my brother in a troubled sleep, and afterwards the like dream came oft to him again, and once to me. I want to stop there for that detail. Faramir, Boromir's brother, is having this prophetic dream repeatedly. There's thunder, and a voice comes out of the west in a clear light. The west here associated with positive forces, as the east is associated with Sauron. That talks about the sword that was broken in Imladris, Isildur's Bane, the halfling force shall stand. It's come repeatedly to Faramir, and once to Boromir. He recounts it, and then they recount it to his father. They find out where Imladris, Rivendell is. Therefore, my brother, seeing how desperate was our need, was eager to heed the dream and to seek for Imladris. But since the way was full of doubt and danger, I took the journey upon myself. Let me say two things here. First is Faramir keeps having the dream. Boromir has it once. Faramir is eager to go. Boromir pulls rank as the physically toughest one to go. I'm the physically toughest one. I should go. Why, we might ask, does Faramir keep having this dream and Boromir has it only once? Is it that the dream is trying to reach both of them and Boromir is just less spiritually inclined, less receptive, which he is? Faramir is easier to get the dream? Or can you make a case that since the characters in this book are often looking to kind of discern what the divine plan is, that the plan is really for Faramir to come, that Faramir is being invited to go in this room, and Boromir is the kind of fallback. Here, a providence separate from Tolkien's own plot design. Tolkien always intends Boromir to go. Tolkien has plans for Boromir. I think there's a way to read this as the larger plan of the always unnamed divine power is that Faramir will head off to Rivendell. Faramir will join the company. Boromir, who sees himself as Faramir's superior because toughest, and discounts other virtues. We will later in the trilogy meet Faramir and see what he has going for him that Boromir did not. The less spiritually inclined, the less inclined to belief, the doubter who's only believes in his own physical muscle is going to take this job. There's a sense here that Boromir has messed with it's supposed to be Faramir, but Boromir has substituted himself, that this is an error, that he should never be there. Now, but also the way Tolkien thinks about Providence is as something flexible that's going to work with it. Boromir, the plan there might have been an initial plan that Faramir is going to go. Boromir has in some ways bucked the will of the kind of numinous, unnamed power that wants his brother to go on this quest. But Providence is going to work with what it's got. Boromir is going to be here. Boromir is here to break up the Fellowship and send the characters scattered in the way they are. That is part of Tolkien's plan, but also Tolkien wants to imply part of a larger design at work that takes its setbacks when someone doesn't obey it and goes and tries to go another route and work with what it has. Like what would happen? Like What happens in this book if you reverse Faramir and Boromir? How does it play out differently? We only get what we get. But there's an implication here that Boromir has not been attentive enough to what the plan might be, where other people, like Aragorn in the Council of Elrond, says very quickly after that, says about the ring, it doesn't belong to either of us, but it was ordained that you will carry it. The other characters think about what divine will has ordained. Boromir thinks about what is due to him as the baddest of the bad.